I'll not ask any questions you ask. We can just go like this and help your perspective on you. Basically, when it comes to customer experience is very broad. Basically, customer service domain. So, what are some of the things that you are doing in terms of automating them? The intelligent automation, as we say. And what are some of the broad challenges? I think we will go one after one so that we can. I'll intervene only when required, otherwise we can just go fast.
So I would probably give the perspective about the whole customer experience, support, and what are the challenges and what are the strategies in place. Then we'll set the. So I think first thing is that the 360-degree view of the customer. I think that's the first challenge because customer can interact with you through multiple channels with minimal data and with different data. So your customer, multiple channels, different data, incomplete data. So eventually you end up with a lot of data which does not make sense to you. So the first challenge is that how do you get the proper 360-degree view which includes a deduplication of data. So that's, I think, a big, where there's AI, ML plays a big role there, where you can actually filter 80% of the data, if not more. Once you have that, then the second piece is that how do we personalize the communication, the marketing campaigns, the offerings, the products to those customers. And that's the first stage, but the game doesn't end there. So the second stage is about hyper-personalization. That example is that if you are actually launching a campaign for a customer segment who are of this age group, living in this place, and you want them to take the advantage of an offer, that is normal personalization. But if you are launching a campaign for a customer of segment 1, there is where the hyper-personalization comes in picture, where the offer is for me as a Vinod Bhatt. So I think there is where your whole offer engine, marketing campaigns, this customer data comes into the picture, and the timing of the data. Because if you have a very beautiful offer for a customer, but the customer has lost the bag, and when she's calling the any of the channels that, oh, my bag is misplaced, you cannot give them an offer for upgrade at that time. He'll say, boss, are you crazy? Come on, I have lost my bag and you are telling me that can you fly to Dubai with an attractive offer. I may be flying to Dubai, but there was the same Dubai where I lost my bag. So I think those sensitivities, the context of that offer, I think it's very important for us. And that is what we're trying to do. So that's, I think, the second. Third is about even the channels like basically contact centers, which is very frequent, or the customer support center, I would say, a broader term if I have to use, is that they don't have the context many times. And they ask the same questions. I think a lot of, if a repeat of that was, we're hearing that, oh, can you please tell me again what was the problem? And they never have the context that this guy has interacted with us, this guy has, even for that matter, if I'm always a vegetarian, remembering my context, that I am vegetarian who is always taking aisle seat, and what can we give the offers? I think that context and making it personal, from the customer point of view, I think those are the journeys we are going through. And IoT is also one technology which we are keeping a close watch, particularly from the airports perspective. So airports, the infrastructure for IoT is primarily done by the airports. And where how the customer experience comes to the picture is about managing the queues better today. So there may be many gates where nobody is there, and 3 gates are completely thronged by the people. And if you have got IoT sensors, and they can tell you that, and the announcement can be made, so the whole communication platform can be integrated automatically. A beautiful example of automation, data, and customer experience. And also the NPS, which people do, I think that you can do on the fly. You don't have to do stale data and then, oh, something is wrong, and goes back to our pitch of, are you reactive, are you proactive, or you want to move up the value chain? So I'll stop here. So maybe.
Kapil, you can add your perspective.
Yeah. So, though there are multiple challenges, but when we talk for, centralization, for that, there are, I call few challenges which immediate coming in my mind is, one of the challenges like different incident reporting actually. So let's say one is cyber incident and other is a help desk where you need a lot of, reportings and all. So tracking those and ensuring the closure of it, that is more important is, because everything is SLA driven, and then you need details at the end whether this is closed within a SLA or not. I'm giving you a classic example. Let's say somebody is requested for the laptop and you don't have a laptop in the stock. So you have to be tracked that, like how much delay there is occurred. That's a very basic example. But like that, there are multiple requests are flowing in. There are, so we have a pan-India presence. Sometime courier is the again problem. Courier takes 7 days to reach there. So these all are directly impacting your productivity, right? If someone is very, on a senior position and he's very productive and he's not getting laptop within let's say 10 days time, so that's the biggest problem is. So all the SLAs dashboard has to be available, and I can easily track those and take action of it. Not only related to the IT assets, it may be your audit, it may be your compliances, it may be or your anything related to the asset or whatever is incident, cyber incident. So I need an aging list dashboard so that like we can address immediately. Second problem statement is definitely a knowledge center, because the more we are getting experience, let's say a similar kind of problems we are experiencing it, there has to be some knowledge center available which can basically address, others can address and minimize the timelines. Let's say there are 20 processes are working and one of the person got that problem and fixed it. So that knowledge base has to be available to others so that they can experience whenever any problem is coming, they can experience and they can fix and minimize the timeline of it. The third statement is like definitely the analytics, because I want a tool which can basically tells me, give me the dashboard and help me to basically fix that problem as well, if feasible. I agree there are a lot of human intervention sometimes you require it, but some of the things like smart tools can be addressed as automatically. So that like we can cut the dependency on the people, those are basically thinking to have the solution for it. So a kind of a AI has to be built in, which can, or bot has to be there, which can take care of it. These three I can recall immediately to address pertaining to this topic. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
So, myself, Manoranjan Kumar. I represent here Sri Cement, and we are there into cement business. Our customers, like internal and external customers, are there. We are selling cement, and then cement is going into. There are two kind of business are there in the cement. One is trade business, another one is non-trade business. Non-trade business means institutional sale and government sales are there, where a lot of educated people works there. But if you talk about trade business, they are the people who are simply a lala kind of people are there. They have small shops, they buy the cement and sell it further. Trade business, there we have around 40% of our business is into trade business, 60% is into non-trade business. Into trade business, giving any kind of applications, going for different kind of applications, giving them the information about the schemes, their pricing, their benefit, they hardly use those kind of applications. They simply said, ye mere ko samajh mein nahi aata. You send your people, they will guide us, what is the scheme, they will sit us with us, and then they will do all the calculation, then we'll place the order. And then, because we deal into multiple, there are multiple trade people are there. It's very difficult to send people to each and every one. Non-trade business, they are very smart. They wait for the scheme, when the scheme is going to launch. They place the order. The moment the scheme is launched, they cancel the order. Order is already in the transit. They cancel the order. Now, e-way bill, reversal, Those things that they hardly bother. They said any order, now I don't need this. We want later, that my project is delayed. Trade, there is one more problem is there, the cross border. Noida, Faridabad, Delhi, Gurgaon, they have multiple offices. Now the scheme is there based on the state. So if some scheme is there in the into the Noida, and then order is placed from the Faridabad, they cancel the order, they say, no, my other partner will give you the orders. Now other problem is like employee. The salesperson, we have launched applications, salesforce.com, saying that thing, at least they will capture those information. They have the tool, and they should have, the office should have all the information about the customers. And the problem is these people are also not very ready to use that tool. Whether they are simply saying, either ask me to sell the cement bags or allow me to do all these kind of punching into the salesforce.com. That failed. So these kind of problems what we are facing, challenges are there from the internal side and external side both.
Okay, of course, when I ask a question like that, it can go to all directions. I think, will you like to ask any question?
So instead of my question, I just got a fact check done. I think 3 leaders spoke, okay, and somewhere we thought, and I strongly feel that the products are being thought on the right direction, right? While on the trade business, we need that there's a very diverse demography which needs to be addressed to multilingual, being on multiple platforms, and relevant ones, the simpler ones, right? While what Vinod sir told is, more on the data side, having a consistent data, not missing the track, okay, and not being an out of context while reaching back to the customer. I think as a question, if I have, is maybe to the other CIOs also, here is, do these issues are concurrent for most of the business? Because we are building products which is business agnostic, right? We come closer to the business at a solution stage, but while the products is being, it's more of an agnostic level to a business agnostic. We try to be state agnostic or a region-wise agnostic globally. So maybe I'll learn a little more if the problems are consistent, okay, in the walkthrough, okay. As of now, there's no point in disturbing this consistency and getting the fine inputs that we are already getting.
Yeah, so great. Yeah. Lamba, yeah.
Same question, right?
Yeah. And of course, if you can add the challenge, yes, that's a business challenge. And when you try to have a tech solution, then you might have tech challenges as well. So please feel free to talk about both the business challenges and tech challenges.
Okay, so first of all, the tech challenges with what we face with the customers. One is that the inventory that they have. So we are a garment company, okay. So we make garments for all the big brands. We need to have visibility on the inventory that they have in their stores. If we know that, then we can forecast our production capabilities based on that. Because fashion is ever changing, right? It's very difficult to forecast already. But if you don't know the inventory also, then it becomes more difficult. So communication, if you can interact with their application and then look at their application inventory and then get the data, and based on that we can do algorithms here. Second is reverse. They would like to see the status of their order. Where is it currently? Whether it is in production, whether it is in procurement, whether it is packed, whether it is shipped. So again, communication. The third is the traceability. Traceability is actually becoming very important now when the Zinjua cotton has been banned by US, right? So they want to know whether the garment that is coming to us, the cotton for that has not been sourced from that region or not. So we have to certify that the cotton has come from this source, the yarn has been from this source, the fabric has been made here, and then the garment has been made in our which factory, and then it is packed and shipped. So the entire traceability has to be provided to them and certified that we are taking the responsibility. So these are larger issues that we have and technology related. The other two issues which are not largely technology but business challenges is the customers, even if they know that they have to order for say 100,000 garment pieces to us, they do not send the order to us 90 days before. So whenever there is a 90-day period, then they send us the purchase order, and then we have to run fast and deliver, within 45 to 60 days, whatever is the time. So if we can have visibility to their system, or there is a way that they can send the order in the so again, it's a business challenge, not a communication, not a technology challenge. If they can send the order earlier, they can, our turnaround time will be much faster, and we can provide to them, and their own forecast will be better, their own inventory will be better. The fifth challenge, again, is a business challenge, is the pilferage. So the goods that we ship goes in a carton, in a cardboard carton, and it goes in the cartons, in the container, sorry. And what happens is, when we ship it to the port, at port it stays for 2 or 3 days before it is loaded on the ship. So those 2 or 3 days in the warehouse, people are very smart. They take out a couple of garments. These are all big brands, right? Nike, Burberry, Gap, Polo, Big Boss, whatever. Sorry, Hugo Boss and all. So very smart. So they'll just take out a couple of garments and paste it again. It goes to the customer straight directly to the retail warehouse, and they say 2 garments short, and they'll debit to us. There is no way that we can find out, because our delivery is FOB, so we can't claim the insurance also. It's in different country, so we can't claim the insurance. So that money is gone for us. So we have taken a lot of measures, even IoT related, light related, other. So there are stickers. If you just try to take them out, they'll just peel off. So a lot of measures that we have taken, but still this is a problem that we are facing. So these are some of the issues which I could gather while drinking wine.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I represent Baiju. So obviously our from a customer support perspective, students are our key customers, right? And how do we ensure that they are there for the longest period of time, right? So it's been whichever class they were, and we usually start with K4 onwards, right? 4th standard till 12th. And how do you retain those customers? And those will be only when you are providing the best customer support. It's mean you have the complete history of what is happening with that student, proactively reaching out to them at the right state, the mark sheets, the tests which are happening, that if they are facing challenges on application level, when they are attending the classes. So all these things has to be, ensure that the whole life cycle of the customer is being there, and it's there for years. You miss out things in between, you lose the customer, right? And once a customer is gone, right? So these are, I think, the key challenges when we look at from an B2C segment perspective, and that's the largest business, or that's the only business which we are running, right? How do you ensure? The second part is there will be customers who wants to, in between wants to take out their kids. So how do you retain them?
Right.
Or how do you refund? And you would have seen most of the negative PR in the industry is only where the people wants to unsubscribe, and they want to retain or they want the money back, right? And if you look at whatever the Baiju negative things are coming, is only that whenever I want to do an refund, then people are not picking my phone, deliberately blocking my call, even though those are only some technical problems, but not the intentional problem. But how do you get out of that? Because if you take away that negative PR, your customers, whoever are good and continuing with them, will only increase, right? But because of the negative PR, there is a lot of influence which happens, and say, whenever I am calling for a refund and no one picks my phone, maybe 5 more people who are thinking of enrolling their kids will say, let me step back. I think these are the key challenges which we need to look at from a customer experience perspective, and see how the complete history is available, and proactively reaching, whether it's a refund, whether we want to retain that particular student, and then once he is there in the system, how each and every step of that student's progress is being communicated in different channels, right? Today, the challenge which is there is that we are asking the customer to choose a channel which I am telling them to.
Right.
Which means I am publishing the number, so you want to reach out to me, this is the number.
Yes, yes.
But I don't want to call you. I want to chat with you. And I want details on the WhatsApp, right? And if my problem is solved, you call me. Now these are the whole cycle, customer experience which we need to build, which is not there. It's all in silos. So one is retention, one is the experience, and the different channels which you want to bring in. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed the point. What we are
The
discussing.
point is we are just discussing the challenges, customer facing challenges. Quite a few of the participant here are B2B, so they have a different set of challenges. Of course, he was a hardcore B2C, so he mentioned. So,
Yeah. So we being an B2B
Yeah, yeah,
company,
sure.
and we have
yeah, thanks.
two type of
Please. Yeah.
two type of customers. One is internal customer and then external
Exactly,
customer.
yeah.
So being in B2B company, and when you talk about challenges about the internal customer, is that some of the peers has been already highlighted, and very honestly, the challenge we face is that in the kind of organization we are, we have a population starting from 65 year and 70 years as well, and then employees who has recently joined, which is we call it Gen Z, and to manage their requirement in terms of automation. Suppose we say that we are automating some of the customers point automated in terms of support systems automations, and how to handle those situations. So the people who are very senior, and you are giving him a bot and saying that I am automating it, and he still feel that I cannot do that. That is one of the challenge, how it can help. The second is obviously in terms of incidents analytics and how we can sort the problem and of the users who is using the systems, and then he is challenging and getting. So how we can get an analytics towards that. And third one is in terms of systems. So again, honestly, yesterday also we discussed in one of the round table is that we have a systems which are XP using Windows XP, and then we have a system which is using Windows 10, and how to handle, and then at the same time we are saying that we are putting up a lot of automation, new thing, and how you can use that. That is one part of when you talk about the internal customers. When you say that external customer, so like we being an energy company, we need to provide the details of the what is the energy generation is happening, how much energy is predicted for the next 1 week, and at the same time what kind of revenue the customer is generating because of this energy, and what are the outstanding he is having. So this kind of information he needs a real time. How you can provide those data, and having the data coming out directly from the turbine, getting into SCADA, and then converting into kind of number which is useful in terms of information to the customer. That is another challenge, and the energy prediction itself is a challenge in terms of having an accurate interest. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. So I think yeah, go please.
Yeah, I think my name is Anand from Whirlpool. Whirlpool being again a consumer durables. So let me put up my challenges, probably what similar to what Vinodji has spoken about, from three contexts. Okay, one is the consumer perspective, second is the organizational or business perspective, third is my challenge as a CIO.
Yeah, right.
Consumer, when I look at his challenge, he wants the interaction to be the super fast or fastest possible interaction, saying that if I need something from Whirlpool, how can you get it to me the way I reach out to you in the same way back in a shortest possible time. So whether it is a call center where I give a call, how can that be very, very short time? Whether it is social media where I'm raising a concern, how can you get back and let me know how is it been addressed? Whatever way I'm reaching out to you, how can you get back to me with your responses, and that too at a shortest possible time? So That's the biggest expectation from a consumer's perspective or consumer's lens, because I don't want to call a call center and wait on the call or dial 2, dial 3, dial 5, dial 9, and then wait for getting that answered per se. I mean, that is where I would look for saying that like, hey, can I get a response for whatever purpose I'm calling for, whether it is a problem, whether it is a new purchase, whether it is a knowledge, whether it is a question, whatever it is. So I want that response back immediately and fastest. So that is my first challenge. How do I get him what he needs fastest possible way? If I put the same thing back on the organizational challenge or business challenge, from business perspective, I look at it, how do I give or cater to my consumer's expectation at lowest possible cost? So does it mean that I have to invest in something which could be people, process, technology, but not really increase my cost? Say for example, if it is a call center and my AHT is going higher, that means I have to deploy more resources to really get that answer. And so forth. I mean, if it is a technology, cutting edge technology, but the licensing cost kind of becomes prohibitive to answer one call at a per call response rate, which goes very, very high, and stuff like that. So that's where, how do I look at optimizing to the best possible way from an organization perspective? And as a CIO, when I look at my challenge, my basic challenge is always, how do I choose a partner who is actually having equal stakes on the ground with me to share whatever I'm taking a decision on with me, to say that, let's say, hey, I'm in the game with you at the same level.
Yeah.
It is also there. I mean, dealers would have different types again, because again, dealers are talking with my distributors. So you look at the interaction which is for my secondary sale and what are the expectation that comes in one way. You have distributor. So I'm not touching all of that. I'm just taking these three examples as multi-brand stores, and then they sell multiple products. Yeah, I mean, everyone has got again different challenges that is there. So that goes on, but then right now I'm not touching that.
Typical CPG distributor retail problem.
Yeah, that's right.
But the CPG companies doesn't have the visibility to that. So that's why the B2C has taken a bit.
Secondary and tertiary doesn't take care.
Yeah. So a lot of CPG companies go on B2C. Yeah. To get the pulse of the customer.
Yeah, myself Shailesh Tripathi, representing Housing and Urban Development Corporation. And Housing and Urban Development Corporation is basically dealing with the, funding most of the government projects across the India. And not only, Government of India projects, rather it is state governments, urban local bodies, municipality corporations, and basically handling a lot of data. So my challenge is that we are keeping, a lot of sensitive information about the, government, government projects where, we are asking for the government guarantee, and we are also dealing, interfacing with the external, for CKYC, KYC, different kind of platforms where we are sharing the data across. So first thing is that we have to make sure that none of the information, sensitive information about our government projects and other things should leak. Second thing is that as far as the retail customers are concerned, Woodco is also involved in the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, giving the credit linked subsidy scheme. Though it was this scheme was up to 31st March 22. Now it is closed now, but we were facing, because around 8.1 million houses. Around 8 million houses were provided to different end users, and Government of India gave this subsidy.
Right.
And basically they created a platform. We are also part of it. That is the clap means where the say each user they are say enrolling themselves there, filling the forms, giving for the credit. I mean to say that this subsidy scheme, and they are taking the loans from lot of banks, different banks. There are certain nodal agencies. There are 3 nodal agencies: HUDCO, SBI, and National Housing Bank. So these 3 agencies, central nodal agencies, are handling for disbursal of these subsidies. And you may find that around out of the 8.1 million, around 2 million applications we found in this particular financial year. And rather, I can say that from January to June, though the scheme was closed, but the window was open up to June. So it was flooded, and we are getting, say, processing those data means. Say someone is applying, getting the clap ID, and then they are because they are asking for the mobile numbers. Mobile number is the, say, one thing is the registered. Each one is having, as you know, that say from one Aadhaar you can have 8 number of phones, mobile phones. So with one phone they are, say, sometime they are finding that there is no response. They are, and they are trying to apply for another again, and it is asking that no, it is already applied. So they are applied for the different mobile numbers. But definitely, there the Aadhaar ID and other things are there. So deduplication, processing. I mean to say that, and when you know that nowadays also this RTI platform are also there. Says if anyone is applying, not getting the response in a particular time, they are just we are receiving the flooding RTIs. Say where my application is, what is the status of my. So and basically, we are not. I mean to say that as a nodal agency, first they apply to the bank, bank applies to the nodal agency, it comes to us for deduplication, etc. It goes to the ministry, then the fund release, etc. All these things are, and then it is being disbursed. So basically, meanwhile, in between, whether it is National Housing Bank, SBI, or HUDCO, so we are flooded with these kind of things. I mean to say that the processing these applications, releasing the subsidy, and ensuring that it is going to the intended one, not to the. So these are the challenges. I mean to say that.
We as organizations reach the government departments, the end customer becomes us.
Yeah.
It's like every one of us get benefited. So we do extensive the work there. I would also like to understand some view on, while in all our history we have been actually evaluating very strong products, very complex enterprise grade products. By any chance, simple to use, easy to use product as a factor is being evaluated by the CIOs now? Is that becoming a factor, or that's still out of a plate? I would love to know.
I manage more on the deal more with the engineering aspects of things in the bank. So just to give you a perspective from where I am, from what I understand is, sorry, I came in a little late, but I understand that we are talking about customer support or experience challenges.
Yeah.
So it is very. My experience is it is very similar to what Mr. Handa, sorry Anand, whatever Mr. Anand mentioned. So being able to basically understand and serve the customer issues as quickly as possible. Expanding that further from an HDFC bank ecosystem perspective, further challenge is being able to get that first of all identified and send it to who's really supposed to solve the problem. So basically there's so much of information pilferage, or you say noise, that comes along as the issue gets progressed over the chain of whatever it comes, and finally who's supposed to solve it probably doesn't have the right information or comes quite delayed. Okay. Second is again, I think Anand mentioned that come quickly, or I think the other gentleman mentioned they want to just probably put a message or something. They don't really want to call. Nobody wants to invest so much. And if you don't have other channels in doing that, the easiest thing they do is, go on Twitter and stuff like that, which, of course, we are not really, if you're not really also engaged on those kind of channels, you're just going to lose the pulse or those issues that are coming in, right? So number one is being able to handle all those issues, not specifically coming from our own authorized channels, wherein you say, okay, these, this is my channel to give your complaints or issues, etc. Being able to tap other areas as well. Second is being able to capture the right information at the right time and quickly deliver it to where or who's going to solve it. So basically, if you look at the ecosystem, you have cards, you have, net banking, so many applications, so many channels, right? Finally, the solution goes into respective divisions or units, and that's where we have seen, a challenge happening. Third is probably from internal application, data center or cloud perspective. Typically, customer issues are persisted, and you normally would see some indication in your data center. Some incident has happened and there will be a spike in issues and customer expectations. Now, and they can be very small incidents. It may not be very, 2 seconds, 3 seconds kind of incident, some network delay, latency, causing issues. Again, the challenge is being able to identify these sporadic, transient, probably you say symptoms within ecosystem, being able to automatically being able to recognize them, raise incidents, right? And being able to close them proactively. So not necessary, those small incidents really become into a big issue. There can be some customer chatter here and there, but they will probably get unanswered. But if that persists and it has a potential to really explode into a bigger incident, so being able to identify those symptoms, smaller incidents, create automated tickets, again those tickets being intelligent enough to go where they are supposed to go, right? Only then it will solve. Otherwise, you just raise a ticket, goes somewhere, there was no customer impact, no escalations, slowly it gets deprioritized and they get closed. But being able to understand those, small problems within the system before they become big, that's what I think is probably a expectation.
Great. Please.
Hi. So I'm Rajiv Taneja from Honda Two Wheelers. So like every company, we also have internal customer as well as external customers, but I'll restrict my discussion to the external customers as of now. So this pandemic, for everyone, it was a deterrent and it forced us to change the way, we were working and we were operating. So there were a lot of challenges which we found, to change the customer experience. The customer experience was going bad. So how to, change that experience for the better? To start with, so like, if you have to buy a vehicle, you have to, visit a dealership. And those were the times when people were really avoiding going to the dealership. So we went to the extent of, so we, enabled online booking on the website. We enabled online servicing. If you want to get a service done, you can, do that booking on the website. And before that, before you buy a vehicle, if you want to select a vehicle, so we went up for creating a virtual showroom, on the website where you can identify a product, you can choose a color, you can, go 360 degree around, and you can decide what product you want to buy. So that is what was created, and based on the the requirements which were coming. So that was something which created, and those were the challenges which we were identifying at that point in time. And so once this was done, that is something which is already given now. So, but then what is the next way forward? So there are some more things which we feel that it has to be to change the customer experience. There are some more challenges which are there. So as of now, we have a customer care center wherein you can call, and there will be people who will be picking up the calls and they'll be responding to you. But then we do not have, as of now, there is no a platform, customer platform, wherein if you have kind of chatbot surveys or IVR surveys. So those are the things which we feel if we further add will change the customer experience. So that is something which we are thinking in that direction now. So I think these things will definitely change the customer experience.
Absolutely. So So you also so maybe if you can add what you do today for those customers, from there the way the metrics that you measure and whether they are adequate or you are thinking of changing with market needs changing, they are also changing. So if you can add that also, otherwise the same question for you as well.
So maybe before that I will answer his other question, right, where he said, are we looking at simpler tools? Yeah. So no, we definitely are, because I am from Cholamandalam Investments, which is an NBFC, and this space is getting hyper competitive, with fintechs coming heavily into space. So the need to deliver quick, solutions out in front of the customer is extremely important. So getting, maybe a low code, no code kind of platforms as a base for us to get something out quickly becomes very important for us. So that's an area where we have kind of embarked on the journey and trying to get things. The other area is, if we are not able to use them as a build model, then we work with fintech partners to say, can they be the digital front for us? And we become the balance sheet provider at the end. So in a way, those fintech partners become our customers in some form. Of course, there is a retail customer behind them. And that's where we are seeing how do we expand our reach through digital models. Now coming to some of the challenges, I think the key part we definitely see is around deduplication, because sometimes the customer data becomes a big variable, and we don't know whether his relationship with us is tied to only a two-wheeler loan, or is he both a home loan and a two-wheeler loan customer. And then it also becomes a challenge when a regulator comes back and says, what's your customer level exposure and so on. Since we deal heavily in vehicle finance, we also do both new and used car kind of markets, and we actually run a portal called Gadi Bazaar, where you can, if you have a vehicle, you can come and put it up for auction. Now, what we are observing, and with something we are trying to tackle, is, let's say you have a vehicle in Nagpur, there will be used car dealers or brokers who kind of monopolize or cartelize that particular piece. So even if you bring it onto, you put your car up for auction in Nagpur, you get somebody to do a valuation. But because the local cartel is so strong, the value you realize against the valuation is fairly low. So this again results in a kind of negative experience when you try the best from a digital perspective, but for the customer, his value to realization is significantly off.
You don't have control.
Yeah. So what we are trying there is seeing, can we, like you said, how do you use metrics to improve that? So we are saying, who are my new bidders, and can we get people, let's say if you're in Nagpur, what are the nearby brokers who can participate? So my, item to bid ratio, number of active bidders, are the way we are trying to say is, my bid count goes up, is my value realization higher? So we are using some of those mechanics to say, can I improve the value for customer to come to my platform and put his vehicle up for auction?
They said whenever they are putting a car from a customer for auction, so there is a reserve price field, so customer can put that. And then whenever there is a price which is little more than a reserve price, automatically that becomes a reserve price. So maybe some.
Yeah, so we do that. So that is a valuation, and there's a valuation guideline that comes, because we use a external valuation partner to come, and he will look at the vehicle and give like what maybe the valuation is obvious. But then the actual realization is not there. Sure. And many times, because you have local groups, you may not have somebody outside interested in vehicle that is further, and that they kind of end up controlling the market, even though the aim of digital is to make it pervasive.
And this is happening with all cars, Car and then Car 24. Everyone is facing this problem.
So I think we were in the panel discussion, so I'll not dwell much upon the internal employees part, because anyway, you asked about simplification. I said it should be for dummies, right? So that is how it should be, as intuitive as WhatsApp. We don't need to teach anyone how to use WhatsApp. People learn on their own, and even though you have other alternatives, people still go back to WhatsApp. Even corporate citizens go back, leave collaboration tool of Office, and then start communicating on WhatsApp. But one point on internal one, so there's no one solution that will be end-to-end covering all your needs for employees or for partners. So very important is how do they talk to each other, how do they connect. It's not about initiating a request and understanding the request, it's about fulfillment. How can we do auto-fulfillment and enable that auto-fulfillment, whether it's for employees or for customers? And that should be the real one, because ultimately people are not there to raise queries. Why should I raise queries? My queries should get answered. It's like in laptops and devices, now we are talking of self-healing. Same thing for request. Can you understand my issues and can you solve it without me initiating it? I mean, we are talking in IT services, we are talking, but from a business side, can we do that for employees on their queries? So we are doing a lot of stuff on new joinees, onboarding, end-to-end, -60 to +30 days. You know, when you are, so hire to retire cycle, we are mapped and we are using a conversational AI platform along with a couple of stuff to ease out those experiences. But then that's the one part. At the back end, what we realized, there are so many systems that we have produced over years that everywhere there's a provision and deprovisioning process. There's controls, finances, this authorization, uska authorization. How do you simplify that? When I join the organization, how do I know my role requires access to these 20 systems and for that I have to apply these approvals? That is the very basic. So understanding, mapping that journey and then simplifying it. It may be one technology, two technology, we don't care. But that has to be simplified. For us, customers are our trade partners and indirect trade partners. All of us are consumers. So we have definition that end consumer is the person who's ultimately consuming product. Unfortunately, we cannot reach out to any of us. So as a consumers, we are regulated. I cannot talk to you about our products. I cannot tell you about our promotions. I cannot tell you about our flavors, fragrance, etc. So customers, we are trying to solve, first of all, understand the map, the journey map of a customer, because for us, every state, the journey map is different and there are cartelizations. There are 50% of the country where the government is a customer, and then there are thousands of retail under the government or may not be retail directly in them. So there are 8-9 archetypes. Then there is a wholesaler north, Theka market. They don't care about any data. You tell them whatever you want, it's an auction market. How do you then connect and provide service to them? Then you have the goodies, which is the Maharashtra, Goa, which is the FMCG sector, distributor, retailer. There you can do some amount of service. Now if such a variety is there, then will one prototype, one service, one solution solve all the question is a question mark. So before that, it's more of a discovery, and this is one of the challenge for us to figure out where do we play, what do we fulfill, and then how does it ease out the interactions of our trade and indirect trade partners. Because like most of the FMCG CPGs, direct trade still we have control. Their trade partners are not specific to one organization. They buy from everyone. So, and they don't want to share data also. So I think that's something for us to find out.
That's a big change.
So I think some of the point which I was thinking of, it's been taken up by him. A similar problem, I'm also trying to talk about IT problem, technology issues. There are a lot of, every one of us would have, a lot of systems, applications, and related support are not uniform, If some unification is done, they are not simple, It requires thousands of, inputs to be provided. So that side of customer experience, people are, discouraged to, log a call. Now, to avoid that, we have tried to use the bot, AI, ML, and bot has brought a very, very good feature, but if bot is not trained properly, after one or two questions, it suggests something which we have been doing for years and decades. Please contact customer care number. So that's one type of a problem. Then I'm from a oil and gas sector, and we all go to the petrol pump to fuel our vehicle. Maybe one time to one petroleum organization, second time based on the experience and the availability to the other. And that feedback and the customer experience, if I want to capture, how do I capture? Because I don't onboard them. So Likewise, there are multiple products. So how do I get that, the customer details? How do I onboard them to service them? We don't even know how do I, what complaint do they have, Sometime we do get it through social media or some other method. But these are the broad challenges. So we have a captive customers, which is our dealer and distributor. Of course, they have a different service channel to be served. But these consumers, like all of us, we have a challenge to identify. We are trying many things in terms of how to get their details to serve them in future. But that remains a challenge. And internal, as he spoke, there are so many applications, homegrown applications, COT solutions. Each has a different service portal. And it requires a unification. And some places unification is possible. Somewhere it is because of some technology limitations, compatibility, and so on and so forth. It's just not possible. So you live with multiple solutions. The current challenge is if you have so much of varied support systems, you need those many support staff trained in that particular area. And how do I optimize those human resources who understand the product, who understand the application, to optimize the cost, so that it becomes a technology enabled, and I sort of give a speedy service, effective service, also optimize the cost. So these are some of the challenges which we are grappling with and trying to find out what are the best solutions available and find out. Thank you. I have a small solution for you.
Yeah.
Sorry, thank you so much. So if we have a storage of diesel in our factory, so we have a fleet of around 300 trucks. So what we do is, as soon as the truck reaches the storage, there is a camera which takes the photograph of the number plate. So we know that which truck is there. And then from the meter, it is integrated to the ERP. The reading will go that how much fuel is going there. So we know that which truck has been refueled when with the timestamp, how much fuel. I think that is there in the petrol pumps. You will easily know which customer is a repeat customer and which customer is not.
Actually, yeah, I mean that has been attempted and being attempted, by all of the oil, companies. The issue is how do you enter? Which side of a petrol pump you enter? There is a in and out. We see, people make entry from, whichever side. Yeah. The other thing is, no, I mean, I would not say the technology is not there. The technology is there, but the capturing of the number plate, the car, if you see, somewhere, the number plate is much down, somewhere it is much up. So, of course, now that things have improved, we are able to capture. In fact, now the entire FASTag is based on that. But FASTag has an advantage that it has a distance to see the vehicle. Many of the places our outlets are not so much of available of a space. So some places we are not able to really.
That is using the RFID, and while it is the number plate is being scanned, I mentioned by optical scanning.
Yeah, video analytics.
Video analytics.
Yeah, so we are looking at those, exploring those as well.
Hi, I'm Shweta, and apart from winning vouchers, I am I'm heading Paul Merchants Limited, which is an NBFC, and we have multiple lines of business. My problem, which obviously a couple of you have also mentioned, is deduplication again, because we have multiple LOBs. So we don't know when the customer is approaching us through which product requirement, and next time when he comes, there is no unique identity that can be established. So I'll take an example. Let's say he's taking a travel service from us and he's flying domestic. Now there is nothing we need from him apart from his phone number. At times, one person holds multiple phone numbers. So whatever is captured is captured. Now if he's traveling internationally and he's expecting foreign currency, I take his passport and PAN number. Now, these two identities are created in the system, and there is no way that I can, establish a relationship between these two. So that's one. Second is, of course, that because we have multiple LOBs, there is no one central system where I can have the entire insight of all my customers. So the travel customers are separate, Forex customers are separate, lending customers are separate. So every LOB has a different automation system. So I'm looking for some umbrella kind of a CRM or a solution where I can collate all information and have one single identity for a customer, so as to track his entire life cycle with our company. So that's one of the challenge. Other I would put as customer experience. If I talk about my challenge is other way around. So because we are into lending, a lot of calls go for collections, which is definitely not welcomed by defaulters. So the kind of response that we get, if a male member calls, he would probably get some abuse from the other side. If a female member probably is calling, she would get a different kind of a response. So that's also one which is a very practical issue. I don't know how is it being addressed at other ends, but we are facing a tough time around this. With respect to CRM, I would like to raise one point here that, like I said, I have multiple LOBs. So couple of connectors are already there. It comes handy with the systems, but what about the custom applications? There are no REST APIs generally available, and a lot of effort goes into finding out a way to integrate. So that can be one of the handy thing that we can look at. And the last point I would raise is the exit policy. So considering my situation where I have 10 applications integrated with one CRM, let's say if I want to take one common interface for customer support, tomorrow when I exit, what is the surety, what is the confidence that I have that my customer data is going to come back to me and it will not be misused? So these are the 4 pointers that I have in mind.
Because the KYC guidelines, verification, etc., very strict for banks.
So for some products, definitely yes. Yeah. But like I said, domestic travel now, phone number is the only thing that comes.
You could build the data over a period of time. So first time, that person came with a phone number, probably got one identity. Or the same person came with a probably passport. Yeah. So there are solutions available depending on what the data you're giving at that point of time. It can do these tools, give you kind of things, address, PAN, Aadhaar, phone number, email, depending on what is available at what point of time, and then try to link it to existing identities. And then say, okay, all these identities are actually one person. So even if you are not able to do it online, real time at that point of time, even if you are able to do it periodically, at least you will start identifying that these different entities are probably similar. You could look at it.
If you look at the industry and the challenge, it could be a little different. Okay. Because when somebody is booking a travel, it's not necessarily that the same person booking it for himself and herself every time. It's more like a household, wherein somebody can look on behalf of his family members, on behalf of his friends or partners or whatever it is. And then the detail that you get, that you capture, is of the user who's calling. So that's where the challenge comes in terms of, let's say, how do you really differentiate and uniquely identify everyone from that?
So of course, then you will have to have, who's requesting and all who are you need to have that. Yeah. Otherwise,
which is different than the banks. Yeah. Banks is like one-to-one relationship.
I think banks are largely relying on one phone number. The identity is linked to a phone number.
Multiple attributes are there, not only
not just phone number.
Multiple attributes. Something similar, so address, PAN, other, because they're different. So you could put different identity proofs, right?
In bank, customer has to follow all those rules and regulations at our own money. So I have to follow all those things, otherwise I am not going to open anything. They will not allow us to open the account. But here, it depends on the supplier. I am free to do whatever.
Yeah. Thanks. So I think it was very diverse perspective, really diverse perspective. And the fact is that you want to continue a discussion and point and counterpoint and all. So the enthusiasm. So great. Yeah. Of course, yeah. So I would like you to respond to that, and I also request everyone to join the next 100 celebration after this, and then of course let's hear this program. Please.
I know I'm standing between you and a beautiful dinner, right? And I'm also having a tough time explaining my wife that I'm actually working in Goa at 8:30 in the evening. Yeah, you know the pain, yeah. So, and this is one session I didn't want to trade. I mean, I'm okay working on this, but today I really got to hear from amazing people, the minds who are actually working behind. I mean, today some of the businesses or the people who are present in the room are moving things in India. So that way I think it was a very special evening. For the last 1 hour, the kind of problems that we heard or kind of challenges that you're facing or what you're trying to achieve in your company, which is going to impact at a larger scale, right? So I think it was very enriching. And of course, I'm a very typical sales guy, right? So I'm not saying that I'm going to solve every problem that you have, but some of the problems that you spoke about today are things that we are trying to solve, and we have done it at scale with a lot of companies. So don't be surprised on a Monday morning if you see an email from me saying, hey, can we just connect for 15 minutes? But of course, we are going to try and do that, but we will see how we can work with you and see if there are things that we can really take up and solve for you. But thank you so much for all the time. I'm sure you enjoyed your cheese and wine, and I still didn't understand the common.
No, beyond that, but I think, what, being a company out of India and doing all this, so it is not just about, tweaking, it is just even building solutions. I think that was one of the major postings when we discussed today. That is what you told me, that we wanted to, because in many other companies, they will go through various layers and layers and layers to get the feedback. Here you are directly to the company who is creating product.
Absolutely.
Global brand from India.
Absolutely. It's a great story, right? I mean, I come from the land of Mr. Rajnikant, so I believe in miracles. And Freshworks story is very similar to it, right? So, yeah, what we have achieved in the last 10 years, I don't think we can take all the credit, because I think we grew up in a time where our CIOs were also relooking their strategy and how they look at technology and how they want to implement solutions. I think he asked a very important question. While you are evaluating, is EC tool is something that somebody spoke about adoption, right? And that's one of the biggest problems today we are solving. So it's very important that we. Yeah, very true. So thank you so much for all the help and support.